history and addresses Australian Parliament, the first for a Filipino leader. But some Australian senators refused to listen to him speak, with one even raising a placard that said, "Stop the human rights abuses."
Another issue bites NAIA, or to be precise, the passengers. Social media erupts over pictures of bed bugs infesting the main airport. We'll be speaking with an airport official about this later on.
And motorcycle taxi service Angcars rolls out a new app that it says improves both the rider and user experience. We'll be talking about this along with their plans to enter the car-hailing segment with Angkas CEO George Royeca later on.
Welcome to the show. I'm Regina.
I'm Gretchen.
And I'm Shawn.
I don't know if you guys realize, but today's leap day.
Oh, yeah. It's Feb 29. Once every 4 years.
They say that my mom was telling me a while ago, women are allowed now to make the first move.
Parang on
just
leap
a day?
day.
May
Kind
ganun
of
daw.
like that movie.
So did you take your mom's
There's
advice?
a movie called Leap Year where you can propose if it's a leap day to the guy.
No, but what I want to know is if she took her mom's
I actually
suggestion
told her,
to
you know, Mom, I haven't heard of that. I think it's in your generation, that saying. Have you heard of that?
Well, there is a movie.
There is a movie.
Okay.
So
that's where
it's not
that
too
comes
late.
from.
There's a couple of hours left, Gretch, okay? On to the top stories now. President Bongbong Marcos has just wrapped up his trip to Canberra, Australia as part of a 2-day state visit.
As we've mentioned before, the highlight of the trip was addressing a rare joint sitting of the Australian Parliament this morning. In his speech, Marcos called for deeper maritime ties and amid challenges to the region's peace and stability.
He also took the opportunity to sign 3 new deals seeking to enhance bilateral relations between the Philippines and Australia. Maricel Halili with a big story tonight.
This was the warm welcome received by President Bongbong Marcos from the Australian Parliament. Speaking before lawmakers, President Marcos sought Australia's help in preserving the rule of law and maintaining maritime stability in the region. Australia is the only country besides the United States to have a visiting forces agreement with the Philippines.
No single force can counter them by themselves. This is why our strategic partnership has grown more important than ever. We must reinforce each other's strengths. We must protect the peace that we fought for during the war and have jealously guarded in the decades since. We must oppose actions that clearly denigrate the rule of law.
It's a timely call to Australia following the latest attempt of the China Coast Guard to block a Philippine vessel delivering supplies to Filipino fishermen in Bajo de Masinloc.
I will not allow any attempt by any foreign power to take even 1 square inch of our sovereign territory. The challenges that we face may be formidable, but equally formidable is our resolve. We will not yield.
The chief executive also spoke about climate change, urging developed countries to do its part in preserving the environment.
Now more than ever, we need multilateralism to work. This is particularly important given the scope of global cooperation needed to address our most pressing vulnerability, one that threatens the very survival of our peoples, one that threatens our very future. I speak, of course, of climate change.
Meanwhile, the Philippines and Australia signed 3 more agreements centering on enhanced cooperation between the 2 countries. Over the past decade, the Philippines and Australia have signed more than 100 agreements. The newly signed deals include a Memorandum of Understanding on Enhanced Maritime Cooperation. This covers the areas civil maritime, security, and marine environment protection. There's also agreement centered on cyber technology, cooperation, and policy making.
Australia sees the Philippines as a central player and a crucial partner for us in Southeast Asia. Australia is honoured to count the Philippines as a close friend and strategic partner. For more than 3/4 of a century, our nations have been bound by strategic trust and mutual cooperation.
Prime Minister Albanese was also optimistic about growing trade and investments in Southeast Asia, with the Philippines as a partner, and sees more opportunities to expand economic ties. For News 5, Maricel Halili, We Are One News.
It wasn't a unanimously warm welcome, though. In Parliament, an Australian senator made headlines for protesting during Marcos's speech. Green Senator Janet Rice held up a placard that read, "Stop the human rights abuses," while Marcos was speaking. She was later escorted out of the proceedings. The Greens are the fourth largest political party in Australia and focus on environmental and rights issues. Afterwards, Senator Rice said her action was deliberate and that she did it on behalf of the Filipinos who had reached out to her.
And I did it on behalf of every Filipino person whose human rights have been abused by the government of President Marcos and the government of President Duterte before him. I learnt and I heard firsthand about what is going on in the Philippines, where I learnt about the extrajudicial killings, where people on trumped-up charges are red-tagged and then they are hunted down and they are killed, where human rights lawyers are shot at point-blank range.
3 other senators from the Greens also refused to listen to Marcos addressing Parliament and instead went outside and joined Filipinos who were holding protest rallies. Some of these protesters apparently came from out of state, as far as Melbourne and Sydney. Senator David Shoebridge, one of the ones who went outside, said the Australian Parliament was being used to launder the political reputation of those involved in serious human rights abuses.
Very powerful statement right there from Senator Rice. Got me thinking a while ago about, all that she said. It feels surreal to see somebody defending you from outside our shores.
And I think if you hear someone, a senator from a first world country such as Australia, just laying it out flat like that, straight to the point, this is what happened, lawyers are shot, you kind of get hit. We live through this, but hearing it, you're right, Gretchen,
because we're used to it. We're used to hearing it on the news.
Desensitized.
It's almost, that's the right word for it, desensitized.
But she made a good point when she said that this government has not been able to hold to account those who were responsible for those killed in the war on drugs, EJK, red tag, abducted, and all those human rights abuses. Whether this administration or in the past.
And it's also interesting that she said that Filipinos there reached out to her and wrote her letters about their own experiences. So
that was the reason why she held up the placard today.
Well, still on diplomatic affairs, China has issued a response to President Marcos saying that Beijing's recent actions in the West Philippine Sea were, quote, worrisome. At a press conference, Chinese Foreign Affairs Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning expressed grave concern over the Philippines' recent activities in the South China Sea that infringe on China's sovereignty. She added that China will continue to take necessary measures to firmly safeguard its territorial sovereignty and maritime rights and interests. Marcos recently said that the presence of Chinese ships in the West Philippine Sea and reports of electronic interference were, quote, worrisome. Now, just a few days ago, satellite images showed a new floating barrier was installed at the entrance of Bajo de Masinloc, or Scarborough Shoal. The Foreign Affairs Department has yet to respond to this. Meanwhile, the Philippine Coast Guard says it has fully recovered its Facebook page that was hacked on Monday. The PCG said its Coast Guard Public Affairs Service regained full access to the Facebook page as of 5:45 a.m. today. The PCG said 3 hackers are under investigation and their Facebook names are Fatima Hassan, Murat Kansu, and Vicky Bates. Now, according to the Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Center, the hackers used malware to breach the security of the PCG's Facebook page. In a statement, the PCG said that the CICC will conduct a thorough inspection of all the laptops and computers used by the Coast Guard Public Affairs Service to ensure that none of them contain any malware.
Let's move on now to the lower house and check in on the latest on charter change. The Makabayan bloc is questioning the method by which Congress is seeking to amend the economic provisions of the 1987 Constitution. They said that the House, constituting itself as a committee of the whole to deliberate cha-cha, could be questioned by the Supreme Court. Listen to this.
Mula sa mga talakayan, so maririnig natin yung mga pwedeng mga questionable na nanggaling din naman ito dun sa mga resource person natin. Dahil ginawa kasi ng Kongreso, no, yung pinag-mix up niya yung paggagawa ng yung pangkaraniwan na bill tsaka resolution doon sa amyenda, doon sa Constitution. Yung pa lang ay questionable na.
But ACT Teachers Party List Representative Franz Castro admits that it is still too early to bring the matter up to the Supreme Court, especially since both chambers of Congress have yet to finish deliberations on their separate CHACHA resolutions.
Matapos na halimbawa ang House of Representatives na ipasa na tong House RB 87, sa bahagi naman ng Senado ay yung RB 86 at magkaroon na ng sinasabing batas subject for referendum. Parang doon sinasabi ng mga legal luminaries na doon pa lang pwede ma-question ito ng Supreme Court. Yung naging procedure and even doon sa content ng RBA. So premature pa talaga ngayon kung sakali na merong magpa-file ng ng petition sa Supreme Court, pero siyempre hindi naman siguro natin mapipigilan yung ating mga kababayan na kung ano man yung pwede nilang magawa.
Former Chief Justice Renato Puno was present at the hearing last night, and he also pointed out that Congress cannot change the Constitution by mere legislation.
It must act as a constituent assembly. It cannot convene as a mere law-making body whose power is only to pass ordinary laws, but not to amend or revise the Constitution. Yun po yung, doon pa lang sa proposal, makikita na natin, the rigid process. At hindi pwedeng mag-detour.
Ano po ang tingin ninyo na remedies?
Ang isang posibleng remedyo, itong Kongreso, convene sa Constituent Assembly at itama itong proseso ng amendment. Okay. At ang pangalawa, yung ang Kongreso pwede rin magpasa ng batas para isubit itong question na ito sa taong bayan. Either in a binding plebiscite.
So, what I'm gathering is my appreciation of it is they have to finish all the deliberations, which their target is by Holy Week or by the end of the month, close to the end of the month. And then after that, tsaka palang pwedeng i-complain sa Supreme Court. So, possible siya na ma-derail.
I'm not even sure that's what we're talking. I don't know. You know what? This is turning lawyers out of all of us.
totoo naman.
Ang hirap kasi to follow.
Ako, ang maintindihan ko doon, they would have to declare that this is a constituent assembly.
First.
Yeah.
Yes. And not a committee on
correct.
the whole. But if they keep on pushing this,
So maybe it's committee of the whole first, and then constituent assembly, and then
no, but
House
they're doing
and
legislation
Senate.
because remember the other day, Representative Boyet Gonzalez already explained that the reason why they're doing the two RBHs, RBH 6, RBH 7, one in the Senate, one in the House, is that para sure that they don't have to vote jointly or to convene.
But yun nga, according to former Chief Justice Puno, you can't change it by mere legislation. As meaning, can't
Hindi
come
siya-
together as a lawmaking body and
Exactly.
decide, okay, this is what we're going to change. You have to do constituent con-as or con-con. So,
Okay, so I guess we're stuck in this procedural stage.
yun na
and,
nga yung danger as well that some of the experts have pointed out to us. There's always a danger that somebody will challenge this at the Supreme Court, in which case it will drag out, right?
Right.
So that's precious resources that the lawmakers used up.
Okay, while we wait and see what happens with that saga, yesterday was day 3 and not day 2 as we reported yesterday of the House's deliberations on the resolution of both houses number 7. Umabot pa ng halos 11 p.m. ang naging hearing. Elaine Fulgencio fills us in on what went down last night. Go ahead, Elaine.
Reg, that's right. Yesterday's deliberations on RBH 7 ended at 10:55 p.m. At day 3 pa lang, may issue na in terms of attendance. Gabriela Party List Representative Arlene Brosas flagged the dwindling number of House lawmakers who remained present at the hearing.
Di ba dapat 60 plus ang sumama sa Committee of the Whole? Ang nangyayari po, pag umaabot na kami ng ilang oras at gabi na, natitira po doon Makabayan Block. So, Gusto ko lang sabihin na hindi dapat ganon, di ba? Dapat committee of the whole ang nagdi-discuss dahil yan ay tinutulak nilang measure.
Also present at the hearing was Ibon Foundation Executive Director Sunny Africa, who reiterated that amending the Constitution does not automatically translate to more foreign investments. As you know, Economic Judges seeks to allow 100% foreign ownership in certain business sectors.
So hindi tama, medyo narrow-minded na tignan lamang constitutional restrictions. Ang kailangan tingnan in terms of foreign investment, yung kabuang foreign policy regime, and that includes not just the Constitution, but of course prevailing laws.
Africa noted that the Philippines has long been open to foreign investors. That's why he's questioning the push to amend the Constitution.
Ilang dekada sila dito, nung mas may kita sa ibang bansa, umalis sila because they don't care about their development, they care about their profits.
Reg, the next hearing on RBH 7 will be held on Monday. Instead of starting at 1 in the afternoon, just like the previous days, the next deliberation will begin at 10 in the morning. Reg?
Well, up next, NAIA finds itself in hot water yet again. This time over bed bugs. We'll be speaking with Manila International Airport Authority Head Executive Assistant Attorney Chris Bendijo about this. Don't go away.
Welcome back. You're still watching the big story here in One News. A few days ago, we were talking about how NAIA was named one of the worst airports in Asia for business travelers. And now here we are with yet another issue that bites, literally. I'm talking about bed bugs. Some passengers who sat on rattan and even metal benches at Terminals 2 and 3 reported being bitten by bed bugs. They shared photos to our team and online showing awful bite marks on their legs. And one of them was apparently even brought to the airport clinic as a passenger complained that the bites were painful and itchy. The Manila International Airport Authority has apologized for the debacle. They said they have identified the seats that were infested and that these were pulled out permanently. General Manager Eric Innes said they've also scheduled disinfection of the airport.
Okay, so I think I'll call those bugs French bugs. Di ba meron sa Paris?
Yun nga, I was wondering
Okay,
din kung galing siyang
you're gonna
fashion
start
week.
a war over bed bugs. Go, ha?
But,
We don't know where they came
Okay,
from.
fine.
Maybe we should start off this discussion by pulling up the photos of the chairs that have been pulled out so we can see for ourselves. Right, so
But
They're
they're
the-
plastic or metal.
the bottom,
I can't see
rattan,
this
right?
clearly.
that's right. And apparently, some of the other chairs that were pulled out were also rattan. So that begs the question: are these bed bugs or some other kinds of
Yeah,
bugs?
because I don't think bed bugs thrive in,
In
metal or plastic,
yeah.
right?
They need to have upholstery and
or
like
linen,
foam.
yeah,
Right.
or
So
foam.
there's also apparently a video uploaded back in January 17 by Facebook user Angeli Halili. That's what we're showing right now. It's showing insects in the
Oh my
holes
gosh.
of the
that's
seats
so
in the
bad.
NAIA. We have not had a chance to vet this video, but some news outlets have also used this particular video you're seeing right now.
No, but we do see those seats in
Yes.
the airports, right?
Yes,
It's
they
the
leave
same.
funny circles
Oh,
on the backs
Oh,
of
yeah,
your
but
legs.
again,
Right.
but again, to be fair to them, to the airport authority, we haven't vet. We
Yeah,
haven't had a
okay.
chance to vet this video.
Well, News 5 talked to some passengers at NAIA, and some of them just chose to sit on the floor kesa daw makagat sila ng surot. An expert says bed bug bites can be life-threatening too. Let's listen in.
They are not known to have been transmitting any disease. However, ang pinaka-problema natin dyan, pwede magkaroon ka na tinatawag natin na allergic reactions doon sa mga bites na yan. Yung mga allergic reactions, kapag sobrang maging severe sila, pwede kang magkaroon ng tinatawag natin na anaphylactic shock. Ito yung severe form of allergy na pwede magkaroon ng problema sa lungs mo, pwede kang mahirapan huminga, at pwede itong magdulot ng, syempre, yung hypoxia na tinatawag natin. So kapag nagkaroon ng problema ng gano'n na hypoxia, pwede nga mamatay yung tao doon sa severe allergic shock.
If you are traveling to the airport
Like
anytime
you
soon,
are.
what do you do when you get bitten by bed bugs? Well, first, don't scratch to prevent secondary infection. Use antihistamine at pwedeng lagyan ng cream. At syempre, kung it gets super bad, you can go to a doctor.
Alam mo,
right?
malas-malas din yan eh. Some people have really bad reactions to bed bug bites. Some people, not so bad. So, you'll only find out kung anong klaseng tao ka pag nakagat ka na ng surot.
Oh, ganon. Ganon na lang. Hindi, pero sinusulat ko na kasi Terminal 2 and 3, Latan and Steve.
Okay.
I'm going to the airport tomorrow. But here to
Mag-off ka
talk
na
to
lang.
us more about these surot incidents, which are not funny at all. You know, we have with us on the line via Zoom, Manila International Airport Authority Head Executive Assistant, Attorney Chris Bendijo. Magandang gabi, Attorney.
Good evening, Gretchen, Shawn, and Regina.
Okay.
Magandang gabi po.
Can you tell us the real score here? Is this the first time that we are seeing a bed bug infestation in the seats at NAIA, or has this been reported also in the past?
Okay, before anything else, I hope you'll allow me to first apologize again to the two individuals who suffered dito sa mga bed bugs na to. No? The GM has always reminded us to treat everybody who goes to the airport as our guests. That's why this is an incident that we do not want to happen. Rest assured, we will continue to reach out to these two individuals. But to your question, this is the first time that this has been brought to our attention. No? In fact, when this was brought to our attention, the GM was in a security meeting, and he immediately instructed the terminal managers to investigate. So the one that you're showing now on your screen, these are the chairs, the gang chairs that have been pulled out. They have been subjected to deep disinfection. No? I'd like to highlight, however, na itong cleaning process na to has been there already. Quarterly, the chairs are physically pulled out from the airport. They are treated with chemicals. It's a 3-day process. It's rather unfortunate na may ganitong naka-experience nito. But again, as I've said, we will continue to impose measures to ensure that we do not have a similar incident. Hopefully, when you go to the airport tomorrow, we will assure you that there will be no surot during your visit to the airport.
So, what do we know about this since nai-report siya sa inyo, Attorney Chris? Are we sure na surot nga ba ito or some other kind of bug? And also, like you said, pinupull out yung furniture quarterly. So, do you have 2 sets para may salitan or nawawalan ng chair for a few days tas ibabalik pagkatapos ng treatment? How does that work operationally?
Okay, regarding your first question, we spoke with our pest control service provider this afternoon. When they were spraying the chairs, it was their observation that parang iba yung species, iba yung type of surot. According to them, it was a larger species which is different from the local surot. But again, it's very difficult to determine the source of these bugs. But to your second question, there are actually 2 types. The rattan chair that you're mentioning, that's the chairs. Those are the chairs in Terminal 2. Based on the recommendation mukhang hindi na ibabalik itong mga to. According to the pest control service provider, talagang prone daw po ang ratan, lalo na kapag medyo matanda na, to infestation. No? But again, we will still explore kung ano ang pwedeng treatment na gawin dito so that sayang naman kasi maganda yung aesthetic ng chairs. No? But if it will, of course, no, subject our visitors to similar incidents, definitely will avoid that. Now, to the last portion of your question.
Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry,
go ahead, Attorney.
regarding the pull-out, no, the deep cleaning, no, the deep disinfection is done by batches. It's my understanding that 20 gang chairs are pulled out daily, rather. They are subjected to the 3-day process of cleaning, spraying, chemicals, high-pressure wash, and then of course, binibilad rin ito sa sano. So, yung rotation po nito, so that will be 8,000 seats, no? Depending on kung 4-seater or 6-seater siya. So, it's pulled out daily during non-peak hours, and then after the 3-day process, we will put them back. But with this incident, the GM has already instructed to explore procuring additional, no? Kasi we will revisit our process. It seems that despite our cleaning process na talagang regular naman, talagang may ganitong incident. So we will revisit that. Perhaps we will explore any interim measure, no, before yung deep cleaning. Kasi yun nga, cycle siya. Parang quarterly nalilinis yung chairs ng ganong harsher chemicals, no. Of course, meron pa rin daily, no, naglilinis, nagdi-disinfect yung ating mga cleaners. But we will have to revisit this kasi definitely this is something that we do not want to happen again.
Pero ano pong klaseng, ito talaga ba? May sinabi po ba yung pest control contractor ninyo kung anong klaseng insekto yung namumugad sa bakal na upuan? Because even I have honestly never heard of that. Pag plastic bakal, usually I feel like it's safe. Did he explain?
Actually, the observation was just relatively as to the size, no? He was comparing yung mga domestic na surot natin, and the observation was that these do not look like our domestic surot. No?
So foreign.
So, again, we can only speculate as to the origin of these insects, but that was his observation. Mind you, itong mga information na to, we will still process this tomorrow morning. No? We will have a meeting. Definitely we'll come up with an action plan after that meeting. No, surely we want to avoid a similar incident from happening.
Attorney, exactly how many seats did you pull out? And number two, can you clarify for us that the incident at Terminal 3 was also true? Because all we have to go by at this point is a video from a passenger that apparently she had taken last month, and she said that was Terminal 3. So can you confirm that that was true? And how many seats did you pull out of Terminal 2?
Okay, when the information was brought to our attention, again, the one that you're flashing on your screen right now, these are the types of gang chairs that we can see in Terminal 3. No? The one in Terminal 2 that was posted on social media, the one that's made of rattan, yun naman exclusive rin lang sa Terminal 2. No? So, as to whether we can confirm what was posted a month ago, we do not have that capability to determine it. No? But with that posts, we immediately located kung saan yung area yan, and immediately the GM instructed the pullout of these chairs for deep cleaning. This afternoon, when there was deep cleaning done, that was where the pest control service provider noticed nung binugahan nila ng chemical. His reaction was that the insects were bigger as compared to the domestic surot. Again, we do not want to imply anything, that it's from a foreign source or whatnot, but that was the observation by our pest control service provider.
Just on a final note, we do, I mean, as passengers pay for terminal fees, are you also compensating those who have been affected by these incidents? If it does get worse, sabi nga, it could be life-threatening too.
This afternoon, ma'am, the general manager had already given his assurance, especially to the two individuals who recently posted their experience. The general manager has already given his assurance that we will compensate them for the medical expenses that they incurred. We understand that one of them had already signified that that person will be reimbursing the dermatologist that she had to engage, no, to treat the bites. The other complainant naman, we will continue to reach out to that person. Again, the general instruction of the general manager was to compensate these individuals for what transpired.
Okay, super huli na po kasi ako pupunta ako ng airport bukas eh. Ano po advice niyo sa amin, no? Dapat pwede ba namin upuan yung mga benches? Should we stay away for a bit? I mean, what is your advice to the public?
Again, ma'am, as much as I'd like to make a blanket guarantee, no. Definitely, all of these gang chairs undergo a cleaning process, no. It's just perhaps there was an instance that itong mga bugs na to were somehow survived, no. It's rather surprising nga, as observed earlier, no, that they survived itong mga steel gang chairs na ito. But nevertheless, my advice is that if we observe anything, no, doon sa mga seats natin, I understand kasi recently, no, there have been posts on social media. My advice is for the public to just report it immediately to us so that we can act on it quickly. As to the safety of our seats, we have examined all the seats earlier today. We have disinfected most of them, no, kasi itong mga pinull out naman namin, nag-undergo na po siya ng deep cleaning, no. So the seats are safe. And if you'd like, we will escort you tomorrow to ensure na wala po talagang surot na mauupuan.
Maraming salamat po. Magandang assurance para sa mga, sa mga mabehero, naisip ko lang, handy rin siguro yung microscope, yung pwedeng
I don't think we need to go that far.
Microscope, right?
Off-lotion ang
well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know you have a lot on your plate, so we'll leave you to that. MIAA Authority Head Executive Assistant Attorney Chris Bendijo.
We're going to pause for a quick one right now, but right after that, Angkas rolls out a new app just as it gears up for expansion into the car-hailing segment. We'll have an exclusive with Angkas CEO George Royeca. When the big story returns, stay with us.
Welcome back. You're still watching the big story here on One News.
Homegrown motorcycle taxi app Angkas is gearing up for expansion. It rolled out a new app recently, which it says is easier to use for both riders and users. And now here to talk us through that and other issues is Angkas CEO George Royeca. Live in the studio. Finally, there's a word finally in my teleprompter. And there's finally because we've been trying to get you a number of times. Let's start with your app. You rolled it out recently. What's better about it?
Oh, it's a much better experience. I mean, of course, it's an improvement and enhancement of the old app. Admittedly, as pioneers, we started with the first app, and we've been doing some modifications and enhancement, but this one was rebuilt from the ground up, based on all of the experience that we've had over the last few years, and also getting a lot of local Filipino talent, right? This is really a milestone for us because this is a homegrown Filipino tech app that is now servicing millions of Filipinos. So it's really something that we're very, very proud of.
So should people download this new app then and kill the old one, or it just automatically updates?
So they can download first this new app while they have the old app, right? So that's going to be running concurrently, and then later on we will be decommissioning the old app.
Wow, I like that word. Is it just the app that is new, or are there new features built in, and also, or is this maybe a preparation for all the other things that you're going to put in? There's going to be Angkas Padala, there's going to be the medical services of Angkas, Angkas Health, and also Angcars, potentially.
Yes, exactly. So this is a little bit more robust, right? So we are able to really put in a lot of different verticals and services very quickly. So this is, our step into making sure that we can really get the breadth of services for the Filipino people. Our goal is more jobs for the bikers. And we're going in multiple industries, multiple verticals, as well as geographic expansion. So this is really where we are very, very much confident that we'll take our this Filipino creation to world-class standards.
Why get into cars? I mean, you've been known for motorcycle taxis. I mean, that's your strength, your core.
And your logo.
And your logo.
Oh, no, you have to change the logo then.
And don't we have too much cars on the road already? Why expand to that?
For us, Angkas has always been committed to providing alternative forms of transportation, more options, better options for Filipinos. So I think it's just right timing to be able to offer, an alternative. That's what we are. We are the alternative option. So even for motorcycle ride hailing, a lot of our users use us for emergencies. A lot of our users use us if they want to negotiate through traffic better, getting through the city in a better way. So it's always an alternative option. So for us, the more options for Filipinos, the better.
Will it bring down the passenger rates?
I think
that's because rates have been so crazy right now on other car hailing apps. I'm just gonna call it car hailing. No,
there's only one car hailing app.
No, there is actually, I think, 2 or 3. There are some beta testing.
Actually, there are more.
There are more. Right?
There's a few more, actually. I think more than 5. But yes, there is a more popular ones. For us, definitely pricing is something that we're evaluating and studying. And affordable options is...
Are you going to do anything differently in that area?
We always do something different.
Angkas
is never traditional, right? If you leave it to us, it's going to be definitely funny, right?
Okay.
Definitely noteworthy, but it's going to be exciting for everybody.
And definitely cheaper. Is that something you're committing to or
Affordability is one of our thrusts. Right? So we want to make it accessible to everyone. Everything that we do is to make it accessible to a larger market.
Will you be doing surge pricing, George?
Surge pricing?
Not really your thing, right?
So surge pricing, can I talk about this a little bit more?
Yes.
Right? So surge pricing, I think, has gotten a bad rap. So, surge pricing on its own is not a bad thing. It actually allows you to create an algorithm that incentivizes drivers to go where demand is very high or where their congestion is very high. So it does it, in the back end. The issue with the surge is the multiplier. Sometimes the multiplier gets abused. So if your base fare is 300 pesos and your multiplier for the surge is times 3, which I think there was a time that it went up to astronomical multiplier numbers, right? And there you have 1,000 peso fare for something that's 300. But if you have, decent multipliers like 1.2, 1.5x, then it's not so bad, especially if your base fare is much lower. So it's not a bad thing, it's how you use it. So this needs to have be closely monitored by the regulators. It needs to make sure it makes sense for both the drivers as well as the commuters.
I remember that incident you're talking about. That was a couple of years ago when it was so there was so much heat on the LTFRB because of the surge pricing, and their idea back then was to cap it. Is that a good idea to cap it?
So yeah, definitely. I think there should be a ceiling, right? Because you can't go to the LTFRB every time you're going to apply a surge. It's just not efficient, right? So there has to be certain parameters. But that also could have been avoided if there was an alternative, right? So not everybody's going to be able to just do whatever surge they want because there's competition in the market that's going to be able to capitalize on that. So I think having that type of alternative is good for everybody.
And when do you expect to roll out Angcars?
The big question.
I mean, there's definitely in the plans. We're finalizing the plans. We're working very closely with the regulators, and hopefully we can roll out very soon.
What's very soon? You gotta give me more than that.
Invite me again.
Our viewers more than that.
Invite me again.
No, because they've been asked. People have been asking.
We've been hearing about it.
We're still figuring out the logo. It has to make sense.
Ay, logo muna. Blame it on the logo.
Is there a possibility of you venturing towards the electric vehicle market?
Oh, for sure. Definitely.
Because right now everybody's taking the heat on it, and it's a hot debate about whether e-vehicles should be, e-trikes rather, e-bikes, e-trikes should be banned, and all those conversations. What is your take on that?
That's a nice segue. So you have to put into a bit of context, right? So I think both the Metro Manila Council, Mayor's Council, and MMDA is not necessarily focused on the banning, but rather how do we regulate. So there's a lot of different conditions and parameters around. For example, I think below 25 kilometers per hour, you don't need to have a license or you need to have it registered. So these are things that really needs to be taken a look at. But I don't think you should drive a vehicle without any type of permit, license, or even a registration. So for the bigger vehicles, like at least the EVs that we are looking at, they're not those small vehicles. They're the motorcycles that you see on the road. And these ones are roadworthy, right? They can go and fly on national roads. So it's a very big difference in terms of the types of EV that they're looking at and the types of EV that we'll be bringing in. So essentially, it's a bike.
Technology is getting cheaper and cheaper.
Yeah.
The barriers to entry are getting lower also. So
Okay. Let's just circle it back to the new app, which you said is because you want to introduce new verticals, aka new gimmicks, okay, new services as well. We of course talked about Angcars, which is going to launch very soon. But there's also Angkas Padala and Angkas Health. Are these both already available right now? These are ongoing?
Yeah, so these are ongoing pilots. We have Angkas Padala, but I think logistics is something that, being an archipelago, is something that is really a little bit messy, and we hope that we can kind of put our hat in the game to make sure that we provide an efficient service.
Wait, so Padala is not just Padala via bike. It can actually go all the way to, like, if I want to send to Zamboanga or General Santos, I can do that.
So
via
essentially, we will be last mile providers, and we'll be working with the existing couriers, traditional couriers, to be able to ferry it from one island to another. But when you do get there, it's an Angkas biker that's going to greet you at your doorstep.
Okay. And with the health?
The health is very interesting. You know,
the health is interesting. I know you piloted this during COVID. You were
Yes.
doing like home service tests.
Correct.
Because your riders were out of jobs and you wanted to give them something to do. Has this spiraled beyond that now? And how did you decide to finally permanently add it as a
You know,
service?
this partnership was very successful back then. And what we did was we
Was
trained...
it with the Red Cross?
Yes, it was with the Philippine Red Cross, and it was for saliva PCR. I don't know if you guys remember that. That was some few years back.
Circa 2021.
Yes, ages ago. Yeah, that was a distant past. And that was very successful because it really, you know, we were able to look at just the extraction part. So we do the specimen collection. And in fact, it was Philippine Red Cross that said, hey, can we expand this to other things? And then we realized when we started doing our research that there are a lot of laboratories in the Philippines. And in fact, what the issue is not the laboratory. The issue is the specimen collection, because you will have to go to the lab, and it really takes a lot of effort for the labs to give you your own med tech or your own nurse or phlebotomist. So we provide again the fulfillment part. So what we do is we have professional phlebotomists that extract the blood for you guys and then bring it to the laboratories. The existing laboratories are the ones that process the labs, the tests, and then you get it straight from the labs. So for us, what we want to do is, one, bring down the cost of preventive healthcare. We call this preventive care by taking care of the phlebotomist part, and they're really focused on off-site. And then number two, you know, making this accessible again to everyone. You know, the biggest problem for Filipinos is everyone I ask, they're either lazy to go to the laboratory to get tested, or they fear, or traffic. It's a chore. Yeah, and you know, and this is the root cause of many diseases that go unchecked. And if you can catch it early, you actually, maybe we can extend the, you know.
Is it just in Metro Manila though? Are you looking at provinces also? I think that's important in far-flung areas.
This is much more needed in the provinces.
Yeah.
Like, again, Metro Manila, we're always talking about Metro Manila, where we have all the options and all the access. You know, yes, it's the biggest market, but our thrust is really to provide opportunities outside of Metro Manila. You know, there are 19 million motorcycle owners. 99% of them are low-income family households. There are 8 million cars. 50% are in Metro Manila. There's 7,000 islands, and 50% of all cars is in one. Which is why no matter what you do with EDSA, you know, you put a second floor of EDSA that's going to get filled up. Right? So the solution for traffic in EDSA is not more roads, is to decongest the metro. You decongest the metro by providing more options, more commerce outside of Metro Manila. You should start with a mindset that not everything is in Metro
How
Manila.
broad is the market now of Angkas?
So right now we're in 2 metros, Metro Manila and Metro Cebu, and we're also in Cagayan de Oro. But hopefully, you know, with the passage of the law and also the regulators looking at seeing this opportunity outside, we can definitely.
That's exactly what I want to talk about. It's something that Shawn and I were talking about recently, which is the fact that actually the law isn't there yet, right? So motorcycle taxis are technically, on paper, still illegal. The law has been, I don't know, pending. It's dead in the water. I don't know what it is.
We're running on a pilot test for how many years now?
For
5?
How
Is
many
it
years?
5?
Yes.
And then you have Grab CEO Anthony Tan in the Philippines recently talking to President Marcos about relaxing regulations, especially for TNVS licenses, right?
That's good for Angcars.
It would be good. So what's your take on the whole situation?
Oh, you know, I welcome it. I think
that would also mean more competition, though.
Oh, but competition is always good for the market, right? I mean, the Philippines is so big. We have 100 million Filipinos here. You know, we're across 3 major island groups. There's a lot of room. Again, if you stop looking at Metro Manila, there's a lot of growth out there. And for me, you know, I've been doing this we're in 8th year. We're not you know, we're a mature company in that sense, right? And thank God that there's other people now that are helping out, because for me, you know, this administration has seen what we've gone through and also sees the value of transport options and mobility. And we definitely echo the call of the president to really push for the passage of the law. Though, my stand is that we're not illegal. We never were.
We're part of a pilot.
Yes, we never were. I think criminalizing
activity
that is not criminal.
It's not
sabi nga nila,
illegal.
kahit anong gawin mo, kung ipagbawal mo, hahanap pa rin ng paraan ng Pinoy. So you might as well, you know, regulate it.
Correct.
Right?
On an activity that doesn't harm anybody, but rather, imagine, you are out there, you can, by law, you can put a passenger in the back of your motorcycle. But once you give a fare, it becomes supposedly illegal. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
That's what they call habal-habal.
Yes.
Okay.
But
That's the
pag
one that's
libre,
illegal.
Pag libre, pwede. Right? Like,
Ah,
okay.
so if I don't pay the
Pwede.
rider...
Because you can put a passenger in motorcycle by
Like
law.
you can ride behind me, like right now. I can be like,
that's a
Reg,
good
how was-"
point.
Right?
That's a good point.
So
I know the difference. The difference is you can take a passenger, it presumably be someone you know, right?
yeah,
And
but that has nothing to do with the safety of the vehicle, has
Mm.
nothing to do with the safety of the public good. Though, if it's gonna be en masse, right, then the regulations and the policies need to make sense.
Mm.
And it took us 5 years to prove to the government that we are safe. In fact, you know, I always tell this, I always joke about this, we're actually safer than condoms because we're 99.997%
I think I have seen that
safe.
billboard. It
And
was
condoms
very
are
big.
only 98% safe.
Why did you get that number? 99 point something.
Our
something?
accident rate is 0.003%, and this is after millions of rides. We've held up our accident rate is held up. And this is because we train our bikers. You know, we are living testament that if you are you really train the Filipinos, like really train them, educate them, give them the tools, they flourish, right? The government before has always been talking about all these accidents with motorcycles and whatnot. Why do you think the system allows for anybody to just get a license back then? There was not a lot of training for training facilities motorcycle. We're actually a big school. We've trained more than 300,000 motorcycle drivers.
Okay.
Right? And
George, we're running out of time, but real quickly, I'm looking at my notes. I'm familiar with all these things we've been talking about, but this one I'm not familiar with. I'm sure this is not a typo. What is Angcars? What initiative is this? Speaking of empowerment, can you tell us if it's available for the rest of us or just for your riders?
No, well, for us, you know, what we've seen with the bikers now that they've been uprooted, they're out of the poverty line. I have 30,000+ bikers, 100% of them are out of the poverty line. Now, what do they do with their money, right? So financial literacy, that's where it kicks in. Just last quarter of last year, we're now legitimized. We're part of the formal sector. Pag-ibig is now recognizing self-employed Angkas bikers, which is a big milestone for us because we've really been pushing for legitimizing that informal sector. But that's still far from financial literacy. Recognition is one thing, and Angkas is a way for us to provide loans that are humane. Number two, provide businesses. We do productive business loans to their wives. Sari-sari stores, we fund them. We fund Paris.
Paris
Mami,
restaurants,
Parisans, and stuff
Parisan.
like that. So for us, we want to solve the issue of single income households. Because the first thing, which is financial literacy, that our bikers say to their wives when they start becoming Angkas bikers, huwag ka na magtrabaho. And that is the wrong attitude. And that right there is a real case of financial literacy in action. And when we shift that to huwag ka na magtrabaho to, hey, let's get this money and reinvest this in a sari-sari store so we have two income streams,
Right.
then that's a step in the right
How much
direction.
can they loan? How much can they loan?
They can loan anywhere from as small as 5,000 pesos for goods to as high as a few 100,000
But this is only for your riders.
for now.
Okay.
For now.
What do you
What does
mean?
it mean-
What
that
do
mean for
what do
now?
you
What's
mean
the
for now?
idea?
Yeah.
How many
Where do you wanna take
how
this?
many Filipinos, how many millions of Filipinos need this type of financial literacy? How many of them, how many people are gonna, just put their belief in this sector, right? And we want to test it out with the bikers. We want to make sure it's a successful model, just like the pilot right now. It's a successful pilot. It works in Metro Manila and Metro Cebu. It should work in every part of the
So even
country.
Angkas, it's a bit of a mouthful.
I
Angkas is
I
being
thought it was
piloted.
a typo. I'm
It's
like,
being piloted.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We've been
It's
piloting it
amazing
for a
that you're
while now.
investing in your drivers' lives.
For sure. We're partners with our drivers. And
But-
for us, more than just them providing a service to bikers, we're really committed to making sure that we look at the micro, their family unit.
Benefits in the future?
Yes, for sure. Insurance, we created the first insurance. The first accident insurance for scooters and underbones was created by Angkas. Before us, there was no such thing. And now it's the standard that everybody uses. We want to go to health insurance. But I don't believe in the health insurance right now that's in employment because it's 1:1.
Yeah.
I want a family unit insurance.
Hey, are you still growing? You're still taking on board riders?
Yes.
You still get a lot of applications?
Yes, we do.
How many
We do.
are we talking about on
Quite
a
a bit.
monthly basis,
A few thousands
which
Per
you
month?
can't
per week.
per week, which I
Wow.
assume you can't accommodate
You can't
because there's
accommodate
only
all
so
of
many
them,
licenses.
right? That's
that
why
you can
we
hand
need
out.
to decongest Metro Manila and start pushing
How
it
about the
out.
cars? How many years does the car need to be eligible for Angcars?
We will comply with the
5 years and
requirements.
below.
Yes.
Okay lang na nga.
Hindi naman in 5 years.
Kasi yung
5 years and below.
when's he launching is the question, right? Very soon, though. He won't give us more than that. Okay, we are gonna have to leave that there. We are getting a
Baka si
signal.
Doris.
Thank you so much
Nakwento
for being with us tonight, Angkas CEO George Royeca.
And like Regina said, we have run over time. So that's it for the big story
That
on
was
this
quite
Thursday
fast.
night. That was quite fast.
Hindi na
This
pag-usapan.
is, yeah.
When we're excited over something.
No, we're happy to have you here, but don't worry, there are no bed bugs.
I know.
Oh, yeah, that's a fabric chair.
Super
There are no
surot.
bed bugs in our studio, okay?
Super surot.
Well, of course, we are One News, all sides all the time.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.